In January 2020, an American drone hovering near the Baghdad airport fired a series of missiles at a departing convoy. The strike assassinated Qasem Soleimani, an Iranian major general and one of the highest-ranking military figures within the Iranian regime. 5 days later, Iran retaliated. They launched a barrage of ballistic missiles directly at American military bases across Iraq. Thousands of U.S. troops had already rapidly deployed to the Persian Gulf, and for a few days, an all-out catastrophic war between the two nations seemed almost guaranteed. The Iranian military, anticipating an immediate American counterattack, placed its anti-air batteries on maximum alert. Amidst that extreme paranoia, a missile battery detected a target it believed was a U.S. cruise missile. It was actually Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752, a commercial passenger jet that had taken off from Tehran mere minutes before. The Iranian missiles completely destroyed the plane, killing all 176 people on board. Thankfully, no American soldiers died in the base strikes, allowing the U.S. to step back from further military retaliation. But these two countries, who represent 4% and 1% of the living human population, have had zero diplomatic relations for over 40 years. To understand how they reached this volatile stalemate, we have to look at exactly how this chain reaction of hostility actually began. At the beginning of the 20th century, the British discovered massive reserves of oil beneath the deserts of Iran. They quickly negotiated a deal to extract it, building a sprawling industrial complex that became the largest company in the British Empire. This chart shows the profit split established by the jointly owned Anglo-Iranian Oil Company. Despite the oil originating entirely within Iran, the Iranian government was only entitled to 16% of the revenue, while the British took the remaining 84% straight home. By 1951, public outrage over this arrangement boiled over. Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, pushed a mandate through parliament to completely nationalize the country's oil reserves and take the profits back. In response, the British immediately embargoed all Iranian oil. 2 years later, British MI6 and the American CIA organized a military coup from within the country. They overthrew Mossadegh, placed him under house arrest for life, and installed a 21-year-old monarch, the Shah, as an authoritarian dictator. The intervention successfully secured Western oil interests, but to the Iranian public, the Shah was permanently branded as a foreign puppet. It planted a deep, generational suspicion of American interference in their domestic affairs. For the next few decades, the Shah served as a vital, pro-American ally during the Cold War. Internally, however, he ran a vast network of secret police, utilizing widespread torture against political dissidents and outlying opposition parties. He forced a domestic policy of strict secularization that heavily alienated the working class and conservative clergy. By 1979, millions of Iranians took to the streets in protest, forcing the Shah to flee the country in exile. In his place, Ayatollah Khomeini returned to establish the Islamic Republic of Iran, a strict anti-American Shiite theocracy. Shortly after the revolution, the United States allowed the exiled Shah into America to receive cancer treatment. For the new Iranian government, this was a massive red flag. Knowing the CIA had already orchestrated one coup to install him in 1953, the revolutionaries suspected America was plotting a second time. Driven by that suspicion, thousands of Iranian students stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, taking 52 American diplomats and civilians hostage, and held them captive in a brutal, televised standoff for 444 days. That single event severed diplomatic ties completely. A domestic regime change had rapidly escalated into an international crisis, cementing the two nations as bitter adversaries. In 1980, Saddam Hussein saw an opportunity in Iran's political chaos and launched an all-out invasion. Hoping to further destabilize the new Iranian regime, the United States began heavily supplying Saddam's forces with conventional weapons for what would become an incredibly bloody 8-year-long war. Outgunned in conventional warfare, Iran turned to funding proxy militias across the region. In 1983, Hezbollah, a militant group backed by Iran, drove a truck packed with explosives into a U.S. Marine barracks in Beirut, killing 241 American service members. By 1988, the conflict had spilled directly into the Persian Gulf. After an American frigate struck an Iranian mine, the U.S. launched Operation Praying Mantis. In a coordinated strike, American forces blew up 2 offshore oil platforms and sank half of the entire Iranian Navy in a single day. Tensions in the Gulf were razor-thin. Just 3 months later, an American cruiser operating in Iranian waters misidentified a commercial airliner as an attacking fighter jet. They fired a surface-to-air missile, completely destroying Iran Air Flight 655 and killing all 290 civilians on board. This decade saw the deployment of chemical weapons, proxy bombings, and the downing of civilian aircraft. The sheer volume of casualties on both sides destroyed any remaining political off-ramps, locking both governments into a posture of absolute hostility. Following the September 11th attacks, U.S. President George W. Bush delivered his Axis of Evil speech, publicly grouping Iran with Iraq and North Korea. Shortly after, the U.S. invaded Iraq and completely toppled Saddam Hussein's regime in about a month. Watching an American military force dismantle their neighbor with ease deeply terrified the Iranian government. They rapidly accelerated their nuclear research, believing an atomic weapon was the only absolute guarantee against a similar American invasion. After years of intense sanctions, the Obama administration and Iran found a temporary compromise in 2015 with the Iran nuclear deal. But in 2018, Donald Trump officially withdrew the United States from the agreement and reinstated a campaign of crippling economic sanctions. The collapse of the deal triggered a rapid series of tit-for-tat escalations. Merchant ships in the Persian Gulf were damaged, military drones were shot out of the sky, and proxy attacks targeted American military bases. It was this exact chain of events that culminated directly in the 2020 drone strike on General Soleimani. The U.S. and Iran are trapped in a 70-year geopolitical feedback loop. From the 1953 coup to the nuclear standoff today, every action taken by one side to secure its own interests has been perceived by the other as an existential threat. It's a cycle of mutual paranoia that makes the outbreak of a future conflict dangerously easy to ignite.